I also want to share with you, if you don't mind,
Go
man.
ahead.
We talked briefly about this concept of agnotology. Uh,
Yes.
Agnotology, and there's a book by that name that was published several years ago. And the definition of agnotology will sound familiar to some of your listeners who are familiar with what you do.
Okay.
Agnotology is described as the study of culturally induced ignorance or doubt, particularly the publication or dissemination via the media of inaccurate or misleading scientific data and the creation of institutions to promote disinformation. All right. So
Okay. And
there
spell
are
agnotology.
Agnotology.
Right.
Agnotology. All right.
Right. And I'm looking at this this Stanford University Press. I'm gonna show this on the screen here. Just a second. Go ahead.
Okay. And so for those of us who have been studying this form of brainwashing, if you will, or propaganda, if you will, we should be aware of the book that was written by Dr. Cardi in 1933 called The Miseducation of the Negro.
Right.
So agnotology is another word for miseducation. It is the intentional marketing of ignorance in order to move people in a specific direction. And so the media, based on my experience and my background in the media, marketing, advertising, and design, I know very clearly that the media, i.e. social media, is the most powerful form of mental manipulation ever created in the history of the world. And so we have heard about, Russians planting disinformation on social media in order to stir up animus in the United States during previous presidential elections.
Correct.
So folk who understand the power of misinformation and the power of being an unseen hand in the internet, in cyberspace. You don't know where these messages are coming from. People have a tendency to be, a large segment of the population is addicted to this information. They're addicted to information that excites them and moves them to emote as opposed to moving them to think and process what they're doing. And so it's so critically important at this particular point in time in history, Michael, that we understand how we're being manipulated by information, and how critical it is that as we move through the next presidential election cycle, and what happens after that, how we will continue to be manipulated. Emotional buttons will be pushed, and as they're pushed, people will think less. They'll talk more and think less, and engage in activities that will be detrimental to the well-being of society as a whole. So it's important to choose our arguments carefully and to have your talking points down pat, and to know that those talking points are grounded in history, not mythology, not anger, not racism, but documented facts that can be substantiated. So when two people have a discussion, you bring your facts. And anyone who is a serious student of history knows that nobody knows everything.
Correct.
That as more information is being uncovered, it changes our perception of what we thought we knew. So it's very difficult to win an argument when you're talking with a fool. It's very difficult to win an argument when you're talking with someone who already has their mind made up. There's a saying, my mind is already made up, so don't confuse me with the truth. So we've seen here in this country, brother, within the last 7 years, how misinformation and disinformation have divided this country to the point where we may literally be standing on the verge of a civil war, where any sense of normalcy and respect between two parties with opposing views has gone out the window. So to watch what's happening right now in Congress is an indicator of what's happening all over the world. It's not just here in the United States, it's happening all over the world. So it's like we're in a fight for the soul, not just of America, as certain politicians say. We're fighting for the soul of our consciousness. We're fighting for the soul of Africa. And I think if you're going to be engaged in that fight, you have to prepare yourself adequately. There is a statement that was made by I think it was the U.S. Army, in an ad that they did a couple of decades ago. They said that the first battle in any war takes place in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the first casualty of any war is always the truth, right? It's always the truth. So we have to be very clear about what we're talking about so that we can deal with the truth that stands on solid ground, and
Right.
not a truth that liars speak in order to muddy the waters and to move people into a space where they won't be able to distinguish the truth from a half-truth, from an all-out lie. So these are the issues that I think that are so critically important for your listeners to understand. And it's also the reason why I just finished a two-part webinar on why Nile Valley civilization matters. There's
Okay.
certain core information that has to be understood if you're going to engage anyone in any discussion about African history or Nile Valley history. And we've never been given the basic knowledge. So there are many people, unfortunately, who have a very pronounced presence on the web, who read one book and all of a sudden become an expert on something that they know very little about.
Correct.
And so dealing with these issues, dealing with the larger issue is important. And that's also one of the reasons why we find here in the United States, there is an ongoing effort on the part of certain parties to suppress the teaching of African history, to suppress the teaching of American slavery. So, what's happening in Florida or Virginia or Texas is nothing but an effort on the part of a certain population to control the historical narrative and to perpetuate a point of view which disassociates them from decades of violence and murder and crimes against humanity. So I understand that. I understand why they're doing what they're doing, because of what they have to protect. So my response to that is not to get angry for our former oppressors for saying that they're not going to continue to miseducate us. We have a responsibility and an obligation to educate ourselves. And that's what the Black consciousness movement was about in the 1960s, which led to the Black Studies movement, which has opened the door for us to have this level of conversation today. And there has always been pushback. There's always been pushback. And so we have to learn from the lessons of the past, learn how our scholars, our heroes and our sheroes were able to work around these obstacles that were placed in their path in order for them to continue to get the message out and raise multiple generations of people who now have a clearer understanding of what history is and why history is so critically important. And I'll close on this point. I'm kind of peeved that folk are spending too much time talking about Cleopatra. And I need to hear folk talk about what's wrong with Megan Thee Stallion. What's wrong with Cardi?
Hey,
B?
brother, they don't want to have that
because-
conversation. Let me just say quickly, and I'll let you go ahead and finish. Dude, the information I put out about the song WAP from Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Now, here's the thing. When we do a systems analysis, I went through and broke this whole thing down. And I said they would never have a top white female artist put out sexually explicit lyrics like that, because they understand that whatever's disseminated becomes imitated, and they have too much respect for white women. But here's the thing. The majority of my criticism of WAP and the whole thing in the video wasn't towards Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, even though I would say they get 10%. The majority of the criticism I had was for Atlantic Records, a white corporation, financing this. Because they would not do that for a white woman. And the baseline says there's some whores in this house and repeats that phrase about 79 times. And in the video, all the women are of African descent except Kylie Jenner. And you have white people to put together an online petition to have Kylie Jenner digitally removed from the video because you only protect what you respect. And they saw that white woman as somebody who needed to be saved. You Negroes, you can keep doing that. You can be the whores in this house. This white woman, you too good for that. Go ahead, brother.
All right. So I mean, but and that's a valid point, and it speaks to exactly the point that I want to make. People who love themselves and love their women and love their children do not allow their image to be
exactly.
The other important issue is I travel around the world, brother, And once you get outside of America, you see a whole different world. And what embarrasses me is to see these videos on television stations in Africa, in Europe, in South America, and I would say this, in all fairness, all right, if you want to show black women behaving this way, then let's see some white women behaving that way. Let's see some Jewish. Let's level the playing field. But it's only us because it's about disparaging us, and it's about maintaining this ideology of Afrophobia, this fear of black folk, this disrespect for black folk. And so we have to accept responsibility for that. So I'm not going to let Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B off the hook. I'm not going to let them off the hook because they are rewarded for that by Megan Thee Stallion was Person of the Year, Time Magazine. They appear on Saturday Night Live. They appear on all of these programs. So what that does is send a message to young and impressionable black women, black girls. If you want to get paid, if you want respect, wear a weave, wear these fake nails, wear all of these things that deny your true essence in order to be accepted by a community that has never had any interest or desire in you. And so these are conversations that need to be had. Many of these conversations, I think, should be had behind closed doors and not on the internet, because you never know who's listening. We need to have private conversations, and we need to talk about how we can advance the culture and present favorable images of us, because the media, as I stated at the beginning of this conversation, the media is the most powerful form of mental manipulation ever created. And we're getting played. We're getting played.
Hotep, everybody. This is Michael M. Hotep, founder of the African History Network and host of the African History Network show. Join me Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the African History Network show, which broadcasts on our social media platforms and on blogtalkradio.com. Visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com, for more information. Follow us on social media at Michael M. Hotep, IMHOTEP, on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Also follow our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network, where we have 1 million followers on Facebook. And also follow me on Threads at The AHN Show, The AHN Show on Threads. If you want me to speak at your next event, or if you want to interview me on your show, email me at ahnshow, SHOW, ahnshow at theafricanhistorynetwork.com, or visit our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. You can email me right through the website. Click on Contact. Also at our website, be sure to register for the 12-week online history classes I teach on Saturdays and Sundays. Saturdays is Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Sundays, it's Black resistance movements from the Haitian Revolution, U.S. Civil War, Civil Rights Movement, and Black Power Movement. We do those classes Saturdays and Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime, even after the 12-week online course is over with. If you want to support us through Cash App or PayPal, we have the information right on the homepage of our website, theafricanhistorynetwork.com. $ the AHN Show, SHOW, through Cash App. When you go to our Cash App account, it will say Michael. It may show my picture there. And then through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Remember, right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win.